Welcome everybody to today's video. In this video we're going to check out the Toneforge Jeff Loomis, which has been recently released by JST, also known as GUI Structure Tones. The Toneforge Jeff Loomis is a collaborative effort between JST and Jeff Loomis, the legendary shred wizard who achieved a legend status with Nevermore and since a few years is slaying it with Arch Enemy. This plugin over here is a 3-channel, or rather a 3-amp high-gain metal monster offering some really cool unique features which we will explore in this video. But first, let's rock it out in a full mix demo. Welcome everybody again to today's video. We're going to take a look at the Toneforge Jeff Loomis from GUI Structure Tones, and this is what it sounds like straight out of the box without setting anything up. Just giving you a quick impression of what it sounds like. Let's move over to talk first about the graphical user interface before we then dive a little bit more into listening to some tones over here. So the plugin itself consists of 3 different amplifiers, or 3 different channels, if you will say so: the clean, the rhythm, and the lead channel. The lead channel, of course, resembles a lot of the EVH 5150, and it also goes into that very vein, while the rhythm rather sounds like a Mizabugi rectifier, and the clean channel is, I think, something Fenderish over here, but when it comes to cleans, I'm not the right guy to ask. So all the different channels basically have all the standard 3-band equalizers, which you know: low, mid, highs. We have a gain knob on each channel. We got the presence and the volume, and on the clean, for example, we got the clarity, while the lead has the shred knob, and the rhythm basically just cuts away that specific knob. But you over here have the possibility to set up different tube amplifiers. Sorry, not tube amplifiers. What am I talking about? Power amp tubes, which you can set up over here. Furthermore, we got a Stomp-Section where we have a compressor and an overdrive pedal, which is looking fairly similar to the Tube Screamer, and also is actually a Tube Screamer itself. And here we got the cabinet impulse section. We'll take a look into that in a moment. We got single and dual mode which we can set up. Here we got a time-based effect setup where we can set up either the delay or the reverb, or the reverb and the delay. We got a parametric EQ 4-band, or actually only 2 bands, because the bass and the treble are basically shelves which you can set up. And this is very interesting. We have basically something which is a multi-band compressor, but only really taking care of the lower frequency band. So this is also very interesting that we have this over here. Furthermore, what do we have? We got a tuner. We got input-output knobs. We can set up a gate over here in the corner. Here we got the resize option, so we can set it up to small, medium, large. And over here we got the presets. I already created some presets over here, which we'll also use during this video. And very interestingly, we have the so-called live setup. The live setup allows you to assign certain presets to these, let's say, buttons, so to speak. And then with a MIDI controller, you can actually get those settings directly with one step on or with one stomp on the MIDI controller to your live application. I'll not use this feature at all because I don't have any MIDI controller over here. I'll just mainly focus on them tones. And that said, again, this is what the default sound sounds like. It's a little bit muddy, and you are not able to hear this right now because of the OBS stream and the way it captures the sound. But the Jeff Loomis is actually a CPU hog, so it takes a lot of resources, more than some of the neural DSPs, which are actually known for taking a lot of CPU resources. So that's a little bit of a bummer over here, but I've updated my audio interface to a Onyx producer, and within reasonable latency times, I can still get a sound without any audio cracks or with very little audio cracks. So let's play a little bit around with the knobs, pushing a little bit presence because I find it a little bit muddy. And that's where this amplifier actually gets a little bit more life in it. So I'm going to also dial in a little bit treble, taking a little bit bass out, a little bit mids out. Somewhere around this, I think that should be a good tone. And that's a little bit actually too scratchy. Let's go over here, back this a little bit up. Now that sounds really good, actually. Let me check. And we don't even have the tube screamer engaged. So this is actually a fairly decent metal tone, which I got over here already. Really cool. Let me go ahead and set the overdriven pedal, engage that one. Now that directly punches those mid frequencies, which the tube screamer is known for actually pushing, and also taking a little bit out of the rumble. So very good addition to this. What's a little bit off-putting when it comes to the graphical user interface is that you cannot dial in stuff right over here in this menu. And I wouldn't mind having the possibility to just have this very unique layout that they're not really straight up, and then adding or editing those knobs. You have to click on this, then you edit your stuff, then you go back to the FX overview. It's a little bit not so well thought of, I would say, or a little bit stiff when you actually go through. So it's not so intuitive. But nonetheless, sounds good. That's what matters. And also, it's clear what you're actually setting up, so all fine. So that's for the rhythm amplifier. I'll go first through the other sections before we change actually the amplifiers. Over here we got the cabinet section. The cabinet section consists of either the Joey Sturgistone's matched cabinet, the classic cabinet where you have different microphones which you can choose from, then we also have 4 different impulse responses from the Bogren Digital cabinet pack, the Rhythm pack, So please keep in mind, the Bogren digitals are way fizzier than the Joey Sturgis tones impulse responses, because the Bogren digitals are already processed in such a way that they're just supposed to fit right in the mix without further editing. So of course they will sound a little bit different, a little bit more fizzy than other impulse responses out there. And yeah, you have the possibility to load your own impulse responses over here. But I already have default, presets going on where I will show this. My personal favorite is actually the condenser on the JST Classic 4x12 cabinet. It has that nice crisp attack to it, while not losing too much of the low end punch. Furthermore, we got the Skybox and the Echo Man, the Skybox being a reverb unit, while the Echo Man being, of course, the delay unit. So just engaging this over here. And now this already kicks up my CPU a little bit more, that I'm actually getting more audio glitches, but that is also due to OBS feeding off of the resources from my not so new PC anymore. Yeah, so the Blood is actually the nicest sounding reverb of all. So there's that. Let's go back to the effects overview, going to the Echo Man and turning off the reverb. And that's what's so annoying about this over here, when you always have to switch between the actual pedal and the FX overview. Also very cool effect. Works absolutely wonders. A little bit more tweaking would be required, of course, but that's a different story. So what I find really cool about this plugin is that we have the parametric EQ. It lets you use the equalizer in a totally different way than having your band equalizer. So when I set up my bass and my high shelf, so my low and high shelf, then usually I do that in re-EQ, and there also I'm using high and low shelves. And this is what I really like about this, is over here, this is very intuitive actually. So you got these frequencies, which are basically fixed values, and then you can assign how much you want to have in it or not. Very typical application. Bass, take it out, 100 hertz. You don't need that stuff. Hang on, gotta turn this off over here. By double clicking, by the way, you turn off the entire block here over here within the signal path. So there's that. And typically for the 7K, you can also kind of get in that realm where you are taking the fizziness away. So, and also the mid and the low are very intuitive. So, I don't know, let's boost a little bit 500. So maybe you have recognized it, but on 500 I had those honky mids, and pushing it to 240 gave it directly a little bit more of the oomph, more of the attack. And the same with, I don't know, mids, take that a little bit down. Now, this is just pure demonstration, not saying this is sounding better than the stock sound or not. It's just to show you what this equalizer is capable of doing. Let me deactivate this over here, and then we're going over to the dynamic section. The dynamic section is working like a multiband compressor, and basically you can adjust the crossover frequency. What it actually does is, based on the intensity and the crossover frequency, it's ducking certain bass frequencies or certain bass signals or low end from your actual guitar signal. It's ducking that frequency a little bit, allowing you to still preserve the signal or that spectrum of the frequency within your signal, but lowering it a little bit so it's not overwhelming and, let's say, fighting against the other frequencies. I'm going to try to make a very extreme setup so that you just can hear what it actually does. Let me try it out. Crossover frequency, typically something around 140, 150 hertz, and I'm just pushing the intensity like really high. So you already can see that blue curve. That is the frequency being ducked actually proactively. Let me totally exaggerate. Yeah, I'm pushing intensity way up and the frequency to 400 hertz. So here you can hear that everything up to 400 hertz is being ducked with maximum intensity by this dynamic tool. Really useful because you can directly within the plugin get your sound actually straight like you want it to be in the mix. And I think this is something which Joey Sturgis, of course, is keen of because he's doing modern metal mixes. He has to tweak a lot with, let's say, dynamic proportions in the low end. And this is something which then, of course, comes in handy for these processors over here. I wanted to show you now some of the presets which I have made just to give you some different types of sounds which you can achieve actually with this plugin over here. Starting with the cleans. Now I said I'm not the clean guy over here. This is what I set up so far. Moving to the neck pickup, which is actually a pickup I wound myself. Medium output. So there you have it. Nice ambient clean sound over here. I think this is really cool that this plugin actually offers a really good sounding clean amplifier and really good reverb and delay effects. I really like the blood reverb a lot. It brings a lot of ambient sound to it. It's just great. It's just awesome. Moving over to the metal setups over here. Now, this is how the second amplifier sounds like with Celestion Vintage 30 impulses loaded in. So those were different sounds with the second amplifier, with the rhythm amplifier, using Celestion Vintage 30s, the stock cabinets, or the stock impulse responses, and Resington's Barefoot collection, which is an absolute kick-ass free IR pack out there, which he is posting in his recent YouTube videos. Go check out his YouTube channel if you aren't yet subscribed. I really recommend it. Yeah, but let's go over to the third amplifier. Now let me go first to the stock settings, so no different IRs being used. This is what it sounds like. Really kick-ass sounding amplifier. It has a lot of fizz, a lot of modern high gain attitude, and you know, it kicks you right in the ass. Let's say it straight how it is. And this is how it sounds like with the impulse responses from Resington, again, used over here. So here we got the loaders over here. There's a small display error when it comes to the loaded impulse responses. One channel often doesn't show up over here. So you can see that I actually have an AA comparison or a 50-50 blend, and I still don't get any kind of fizz over here because the IR is loaded, but it's just not showing. So all in all, a really kick-ass plugin. I highly recommend checking it out. I bought it on a sale, I think, for somewhere around 50 euros. I think it's a little bit more expensive by now, but it's still worth every single penny. It's a great amplifier. You have to be a little bit careful. I'm having a very old laptop, actually from 2014 or 2013, which has a little bit of issues handling the CPU load of this. So I do not recommend it for like super low tier budget PCs or super low tier budget recorders out there. But if you have a little bit of a newer system, definitely go check this plugin out. You will not regret it. I'll put links to the actual product in the video description. Yeah, and happy chugging and see you next time.